My name is Spencer Rath, and for my individual case study, I will be presenting the Banqiao Dam Failure. So construction of the Banqiao Dam started in 1951 in the Huai River Basin of the province to manage flooding and provide power to thousands of homes in the area. The engineers, including someone named Chen Xing, built the bridge to a lower standard than usual, which caused cracks to develop in the bridge. Chen Xing was one of China's most important hydrologists, but he was a huge critic during this design and suggested 12 slice gates in the dam, but only 5 were eventually installed in the final design. In August of 1975, Typhoon Nina produced a year's worth of rain in 24 hours. The rainfall caused downstream flooding, and a request to open the dam was rejected on August 6th, but quickly accepted the next day. The telegraph wires had been brought down in the typhoon, so this request did not make it to the dam staff. The slice gates were not able to handle the water volume, which caused a failure and a huge wave. Unofficial estimates of people killed showed about 230,000, and the Chinese government tried their best to keep this failure a secret as they feared that protests would happen at the time. But in the future, later on, they ended up telling everyone, but they told them that it wasn't a fault of their own and it was a natural disaster that caused this. But in reality, it was the slice gates that caused this problem. So for my ethical issue, I'm going to be focusing on should the Chinese government have tried to keep it a secret or should they have told their citizens? The ethical code that I chose to apply to this situation was the NSPE Code of Ethics for Engineers. NSP is the National Society of Professional Engineers, and the parts that I chose were that engineers shall at all times strive to serve the public interests. And under this, it says engineers shall not complete, sign, or seal plans or specifications that are not in conformity with applicable engineering standards. If the client insists on such unprofessional conduct, they shall notify the proper authorities. Engineers shall avoid all conduct or practice that deceives the public is the other part that I chose, and engineers shall avoid the use of statements containing a material misrepresentation of fact or omitting of a material. So for my ethical argument, I chose deontological ethics. This uses rules to distinguish right from wrong of actions without the consideration of others. And for the premise, it uses rules to determine right from wrong, and it focuses on the process, not the results. And according to the NSP Code of Ethics, engineers shall at all times strive to serve the public interest. By not telling the citizens about a dam failure that killed their friends and family potentially, it is a violation of the ethical code. And also according to the ethical code, engineers shall avoid all conduct or practice that deceives the public. When they finally told the public, the government said it was a natural disaster and not the lack of slice gates that caused this, when in reality it was the lack of slice gates. Therefore, it was a violation of the ethical code. So with multiple violations of the NSP Code of Ethics, the Chinese government should have told the citizens. Therefore, it was unethical to keep the disaster a secret from Chinese citizens. Some objections to this argument. According to virtue ethics, it would be unethical to tell the citizens. Virtue ethics uses rules to distinguish right from wrong, so the Chinese Communist Party strives to keep a so-called perfect image to its citizens and countries around them. By portraying this as a natural disaster and in no fault of their own, they keep the perfect image and did eventually tell their citizens. So that is why it is unethical to tell the citizens of the Chinese, according to the Chinese government and virtue ethics. Ethics of care uses interpersonal relationships and obligation to care as the moral guidelines for the second objection. The Chinese Communist Party has an obligation to take care of their citizens, and telling the citizens about this would cause immediate panic. This almost wiped out an entire area, and the citizens knew about the typhoon, so they just assumed the typhoon caused these deaths. By not causing panic and keeping the citizens' faith in the government, it would be unethical to tell the citizens according to the ethics of care. These are my references, and thank you for listening to my presentation.